An absolutely unhinged election night meltdown from the woman on screen. Trump is doing well at this point in the night. He had not won yet. We pick it up here.
The problem with the low, undereducated, white Rust Belt folks that were coming out and going hard for Trump is that their jobs were never going to come back, but they fell for the rope-a-dope, which is exactly what happened. I wrote this months ago in talking about the comparisons between Trump and other authoritarian figures in our politics and our
like who?
History, like Hitler, and how they came in and they were able.
What a joke. And by the way, median wages were up in Trump's first term. I expect that to happen again in the second term. Trump Hitler, come on. The Trump Hitler comparisons still continue today by unhinged leftists. In 2016, they were so common.
Mr. Trump responded to that criticism and also the criticism that he's Hitler-esque, like asking voters to raise their right hands in a pledge of support. Here's what Mr. Trump said.
Sometimes we'll do it for fun, and they'll start screaming at me, "Do the swearing, do the swearing." I mean, they're having such a great time. They're massive crowds. I get, by far the biggest crowds, and we're having a good time. Honestly, until this phone call, I didn't know it was a problem. I'll certainly look into it. I mean, I'd like to find out that that's true, but I would certainly look in because I don't want to offend anybody. But I can tell you that it's been amazingly received.
Everything's a problem to the left.
And what we're looking at right now is Jim Crow 2.0. And for people who thought that it wouldn't happen and they said it couldn't possibly happen, though, that was the protest vote because 280.
We just started Jim Crow 2.0.
I do not believe that this is people saying, I couldn't possibly have a woman in this role. This is so much bigger than that. This is about, and I will say it because I have literally nothing left to lose tonight, is that this is literally white supremacy's last stand in America. This is it. This is what this looks like.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
This is hatred on a level that we have not seen since Jim Crow. So we want to talk about whether Hillary Clinton is likable, whether it was about emails. No, we underestimated as Americans how deep our hatred was of the other, how deep white uneducated Americans felt about the demographic shift. This
woman is just racist. She brings up the white stuff a ton in this video. She's just a racist person.
Estimated that level of insidious hatred. And what you had was a man.
Hatred. Voting against what I want is hatred.
Man who went around, he stoked every fire. He lit every bridge, and just open the floodgates.
White supremacy's last stand. All this talk about white people. What was this then?
11 p.m. on the East Coast. We're back on the air, and we have news. There will be young children in the White House for the first time since the Kennedy generation.
Barack Obama, in our view, President-elect of the United States of America.
Again, in 2012, everybody is so racist.
The ecstatic crowd in that city screaming and cheering when the president took the stage with the First Lady to give his victory speech. It was well past 1:30 in the morning East Coast time when that happened.
And she brought up the Hillary Clinton emails as well. I mean, that was a legitimate thing to question for sure.
You delete 33,000 emails, and then you acid wash them or bleach them, as you would say, a very expensive process. So we're going to get a special prosecutor, and we're going to look into it, because you know what? People their lives have been destroyed for doing 1/5 of what you've done, and it's a disgrace. And honestly, you ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Secretary Clinton, I want to follow up on that. I'm going to let you.
By the way, Trump didn't do that. He didn't go after Clinton. And as we all know, the system certainly went after Trump in recent years.
even just now, we're having conversations about, well, he's talking about the white working class and, these people that are being left behind. They're being left behind because the system was rigged for them to succeed for decades.
President Obama was able to...
How is it rigged for working people? The system is rigged in the exact opposite direction if it is rigged, which I would argue it is.
Actual distribution looks like this. The top 20% of Americans own over 80% of the nation's total wealth. The bottom 20% and the next 20%, so the 21st to 40th percentile, barely even register on this bar chart.
That's not rigged for working people. Look, there should be some wealth inequality in capitalism for sure, but some of that is not natural. I think there is a rigged system towards just some people at the top. Bernie, that's like the one thing he's correct on.
There is something profoundly wrong when the top 0.1% owns almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%, and when
Except Bernie's all talk, no action. By the way, do you know who else understands this? President Trump.
Donald Trump came to the Detroit Economic Club and stood there in front of the Ford Motor executives and said, if you close these factories as you're planning to do in Detroit and build them in Mexico, I'm going to put a 35% tariff on those cars when you send them back, and nobody's going to buy them. It was an amazing thing to see. No politician, Republican or Democrat, had ever said anything like that to these executives. And it was music to the ears of people in Michigan and Ohio and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin.
And look, Trump version 1, the economy was good for rich people and working people. I expect Trump 2 to be that again. To her statement that the economy was rigged before for white working people, no way.
We had states that should have never been in play. We had Michigan in play. What happened in Michigan today? We had Wisconsin.
And we won Wisconsin. And we won Michigan. And we won Pennsylvania.
This is like the worst scenario. This is like Obama opposite. When we had, in 2012, we were looking at the polls and we saw Mitt Romney, and all the polls said that Mitt Romney was, 5 points ahead of Barack Obama. And they said, oh, he's right there. Then all of a sudden, Election Day comes and it was pretty much like a landslide for Obama. And I said, you know what?
That's not true at all. Mitt Romney was not ahead by 5 points before the 2012 election.
Big news for the Obama campaign. Just 57 days to go before your voice, your vote. And the latest poll shows the president pulling ahead, that post-convention bounce. He is now leading Governor Romney by 6 points as both candidates sit there.
And that was not an outlier poll. Barack Obama was the favorite heading into 2012. I don't know what that woman is talking about.
So you want to talk about what this looks like, where we could possibly go by 2018? I don't know if we're going to get to 2018, because I will tell you, everyone was so concerned about what was going to happen if Trump didn't become president, like where all of these, unhappy white men were going to go. Well, let's start to think about
racist. This woman's a racist. Just shameful, just racist stuff.
Now, what's going to happen with the Trump presidency and where this demographic shift that's happening isn't stopping.
White man, whatever she said, white men. Everyone just sits there, okay.
I am married to my wife 6 years, and Donald Trump said that he would overturn marriage rights in the United States. So that could very well be changed.
I'm pretty sure Trump has never, ever said that, and this comment just me.
There was so much on this ballot, so much. It was more than Hillary Clinton. And as a matter of fact, her slogan of I'm with her, or, there was a pushback on Twitter that said, girl, I guess I'm with her, because no one was really that excited about her. If she comes out tonight and says, oh, woe is me, I'm sorry, but we fought a good fight, that is going to be the most bogus thing that she could say.
Well, what can she say? What do you want her to say?
I would rather Hillary Clinton stand up and say, I am disappointed, gravely disappointed in America right now. I thought that we were better than this. This was never about me. This was about all of you. This was about the America you wanted to see.
Hillary Clinton didn't really do that. I mean, she eventually kind of did that, but this woman basically got her way because there was just protest after protest.
Donald J. Trump is now president of the United States.
You could argue it's still going on today. So many people just continually have TDS.
They wanted that swamp drained, and they did not care if it was a sexist, racist, ascribe any other description you want. I think it didn't matter who it was as long as he was exciting and committed, and he had a marketing brand that could decimate that woman.
And you know who else had that same exact brand? Hitler. He
Well,
had that same exact brand. And we can tiptoe around it all we want, but it's the same thing. Hitler was on the cover of Home and Garden. He was in the New York Times style section. And, you know, they said, oh, but he's a lovely man. He takes long constitutions after his meals.
There are a lot of degrees of badness before you arrive at the Hitler.
CBC, by the way, had another woman on in 2024 also making this ridiculous Trump-Hitler comparison.
You're talking about the propaganda campaign and the playbook of Trump. This is not new. This is not surprising. This is directly out of Hitler's playbook. This is out of an autocrat playbook. This is a way to, I mean, the things that Trump has done masterfully, frankly.
Is this an election night tradition or something?
Trump talked about building a wall. I am not going to be surprised to see what kind of walls the world builds against us to protect themselves from what could possibly be unleashed. You know, before I came...
Protect themselves from what? A strong economy that was the envy of the world?
It's said now that our economy is the strongest it's ever been in the history of our country. And you just have to take a look at the numbers. Unemployment, all-time historic lows. Black unemployment, Hispanic unemployment, Asian unemployment, women unemployment. You look at what's happening outside of the United States, it's not a pretty picture. Inside of our country, we are just setting records, and I'm going to keep it that way. We have a lot of potential. We have a long way to go.
And of course, he's correct there. And I've talked about this before. During Trump 1.0, the average worker was seeing rising take-home pay for the first time in decades.
Right? And now America, which was once a firm ground, a place to stand, because whether or not you disagreed with George Bush or, you know, or Mitt Romney or any of those people, I never thought that they were incredibly dangerous. This is different.
Some of these comments, I don't even know really what to say back to them. What does she think Trump is going to do in her head?
I think that this is the great reckoning. I think that this is America's moment. I said this before. I said America has not hit rock bottom yet. We've been circling the drain. This is what rock bottom looks like. And everybody said, you know, Danielle, you're too hysterical. This is not the case.
That's rock bottom? Do you know anything? You don't even need to look into history. Just use your imagination. What does rock bottom actually look like for a country? Not somebody winning an election that you personally don't like.
When you're talking to your reporter in front of the White House, which not a little over a year ago, was turned into a rainbow to celebrate the Supreme Court's ruling for marriage equality, that there are people climbing trees and shouting, lock him up and lock her up. Are we back to pitchforks? Are we regressing back to lynching mobs? A year ago, it was a rainbow. That was a symbol to the rest of the world of who we were and what we stood for.
This seems objective. This doesn't seem at all personal. Seems like real analysis to me.
And let us be a model for you. And now there are people climbing trees. I am concerned. I live in D.C. I live up the street from the White House. I am a black woman in America, married to another woman, and I am fearful right now. And that is not a joke. And does the media have a part to play?
Me. People climbing trees where there used to be a rainbow flag is rock bottom. News to me.
Anytime he opened his mouth, he bamboozled everybody into thinking that he was going to do a campaign rally. But no, it was to open his new Trump hotel on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
That might be the only good point she makes on this entire stream. If memory serves me correctly, Trump masterfully trolled the media there and then got a bunch of attention on his hotel.
The Trump campaign insisted this wasn't a political event. But as Donald Trump cut the ribbon on a new hotel in Washington surrounded by his top campaign aides, he also carved out some time to give a shout out to Newt Gingrich, a top surrogate.
My theme today is 5 words: under budget and ahead of schedule. We don't hear those words too often in government, but you will.
Trump is pointing to his glitzy new hotel to show.
In typical Trump fashion, there were a ton of cameras rolling when he opened up this hotel.
Aside from Twitter, do you think he reads?
I think that, but aside from Twitter, Twitter is what most people read, right? I think that if it doesn't mention Donald Trump's name, I doubt that he's ever read it. And that says a lot about Donald Trump.
But you just made that up. In one sentence, you say you doubt he reads things without his name, and that says a lot about Donald Trump. This thing you just made up 5 seconds ago says a lot about Trump. That is so funny.
Then you have, we have very important issues ahead of us. ISIS wanted him to be elected, right? They said that they've been using.
If ISIS did, that was a bad strategy.
Him as propaganda.
To any degree that's even remotely true, if that's true that ISIS wanted Trump over Clinton, how did that work?
When I took office, one of my very first acts was to go to the Pentagon and ask them to produce and show me a plan to defeat ISIS. As I noted in my State of the Union address yesterday, the United States military, our coalition partners, and the Syrian Democratic Forces have liberated virtually all of the territory previously held by ISIS in Syria and Iraq.
And then not too long after this speech, another famous Trump speech happened.
Last night, the United States brought the world's #1 terrorist leader to justice. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is dead. He was the founder and leader of ISIS.
Trump was excellent on ISIS. I've said this before. He does not get enough credit for that. This is a rare kind of win for CBC. Pretty funny comment here.
This isn't about the candidate. This is about the Democratic Party having constantly ignored people until they need their votes. We only talk about the black vote and the Hispanic vote and the young women's vote and the millennial vote. We only talk about these people when we're ticking off on the Electoral College.
So if Trump was right?
Don't ever let me. Don't try and trick me, Peter.
No, but I mean, that was Trump's.
It was a good argument. So Trump was right then? He was right.
No group in America has been more harmed by Hillary Clinton's policies than African Americans. No group. No group. If Hillary Clinton's goal was to inflict pain on the African American community, she could not have done a better job. It's a disgrace. Tonight, I'm asking for the vote of every single African American citizen in this country who wants to see a better future.
It's fascinating to watch Trump steadily continue to increase his support with African Americans, Hispanics, etc., just by being himself, just by talking to that group of people like he would to anybody. There's no ridiculous pandering. Okay, we're getting close now to the end of the video.
In a police uniform with handcuffs waving. That wouldn't shock me. Like, this man, he is stepping on the precipice of power. He can taste it. He's going to claim it.
Yeah, he's going to claim it because he's about to win.
Hillary Clinton has called Donald Trump to concede the race. She has called Donald Trump to say that she will not be president.
But do I believe that Donald Trump is going to get on that stage and claim victory? Absolutely. And then what's going to happen from there? We're going to be talking about...
Then he's going to be the president. What do you mean?
How Hillary Clinton, my God, the woman can't let go of power, can she?
I've just received a call from Secretary Clinton. She congratulated us, it's about us, on our victory.
And, you know, this is the narrative because he is a spin doctor.
You know, if
he's a spin doctor. Anyway, with that said, I'll finish the video. Hope you enjoyed that one. I had a lot of fun making it. Leave a comment, like the video, subscribe. Have a great day.